Hello everyone, welcome to the daily news protocol of the Hindu newspaper analysis contributed by Vishnu IS Academy. Every day rigorously and continuously we are giving you the daily newspaper analysis without missing at any day. So, let us see the news articles of the 7th May 2022 for today's discussion. Let us get into the first topic of the today, that is nothing but regarding the World Food Program. It is the largest branch of United Nations organization. It is a branch of UNO. It was established in the year 1961. What is the news of this in recent days? As we are in a food crisis that was resulted because of the war crisis and the inflationary pressures and the economic slowdown and all, we are in a state which is the food crisis. So that as India is producing abundantly the wheat production and the paddy production, the World Food Program is asking India to procure and distribute the wheat grains to all over the world, to the world nations who are in the food crisis. So, it is the recent news, and also India is also trying to give promises to distribute nearly 50,000 million tons of the wheat grains. Okay, it is the recent news. In that backdrop, let us see the details of the World Food Program. If we can see, the world's largest food assisting wing, the World Food Program, is the world largest wing which fights to eliminate the malnutrition and also the hunger. And also it focuses on micronutrient deficiencies, reduce child mortality, and also it fights to combat the diseases and also the maternal health. So, it focuses on all these objectives by providing the food which is in need, and also to eliminate the food crisis all over the world. So, in this backdrop, if we can see other details of this World Food Program, it is the largest wing under the United Nations organization and also works to integrate all the food producing nations and also the least developed nations to maintain some balance between all the food needs of the world nations. Okay. So, after learning all these items, let us move on to the next chapter, that is nothing but regarding the Venus mission. The Venus mission is going to be announced by ISRO in the end of this year. So, in that backdrop, if we can see any previous missions that were sent to the Venus, those are sent by NASA. The US Space Research Agency, NASA, has sent the Mariner to the planet Venus. Okay, it has sent to study the cloud cover of that planet. It is the first spaceship to send to study the cloud cover or the atmosphere of the Venus planet. Okay, and also after that, another spacecraft was sent by NASA to study the planet's surface also using some radar techniques. Okay, so these are the main prominent missions that were sent to the planet Venus by the organization NASA. So, in that backdrop, if we can see some facts regarding the Venus, it is a complex planet than Mars. Why? Because it will have some thick atmosphere. And also because of the closest proximity with the sun, it is very much difficult to reach the Venus and also to enter into the thick atmosphere of the planet Venus. And also our officials of the ISRO are saying that to incorporate, to get into that much of thick atmosphere, we will need some technical inputs to get into that Venus. And also Venus is the second planet from the sun, and also it is the closest planet to the earth, that is why it is called as the sister planet of earth. Okay, and also why? Because it is called as sister planet because of these features. Those are nothing but the similar size, mass and composition of the atmosphere and the proximity to the sun. So, hence it is called as the twin of the earth. And also it spins slowly but in the opposite direction. It is the specific and significant feature of this planet. It rotates in the opposite direction when compared to almost all the other planets. And also it is the brightest object that we can figure out in the sky from the earth. Why? Because its closest proximity to the earth and also its closest proximity to the sun. That is why it can reproduce, reflect higher amounts of light than the other planets. Okay. So, in that backdrop, let us hope that ISRO can also develop such a mission to reach out to the Venus. After learning all these things, let us move on to the next topic, that is nothing but the National Family Health Survey 5, the NHS-5 that was released for the years 2019 and 2021. Earlier, we have the NFHS-4 that was released for the years 2015 and 16 as well. So, now as we have got the new report, we will compare the results of that report with that of the 4th survey. Okay, in that backdrop, let us see the details of this report. It is regularly released by the Ministry of the Health and Family Welfare, and the 5th report was recently released. And also its objective is to provide the reliable and comparable data relating to the health and family welfare. The main objective of this is to focus on the family welfare and the health of all the population of the nation. So, in that backdrop, it will give some dimensions, it will give some reports regarding the fertility rate and the mortality rate and the growth patterns of the children and the health pattern of the mothers, maternal health, and also the immunization. All these things, all the records and the results of all these things will be released under this report. And also some new dimensions under this report were added recently. The new dimensions and new actions taken like these are very much important for our exam. So, let us focus on that, the death registration and the preschool education, and also the expanded domains of child immunization and also the menstrual hygiene. All these 4 new dimensions were added under the National Health Survey. And also, after learning all these things, let us focus on the key findings of this new report of this year, the latest report. It has told that the total fertility rate has been declined. What is the total fertility rate? It is nothing but the capacity of the women on a whole, on an average, to give birth to a certain number of kids. So, here if we can consider the rate of births per a woman on an average, it is nothing but called as the total fertility rate. So, it was declined to 2.0 per a woman. Earlier it was 2.2. So, in that scenario, we can notice our population is going to be reduced based on this result. Okay, and also the institutional births were increased. It is also a good result. Why? Because the institutional births will promise some higher survival rates of the children as well as the mother. The institutional births are nothing but the delivery of mother in the hospitals and also under the watch of the trained personnel and doctors. So, hence the institutional births were increased till 89%, and also if we can see the scenario in the rural and urban, in urban areas it is higher. Of course, it would be higher. Why? Because the awareness will be higher in the urban areas. So, we need to work in this area to increase the awareness in the rural areas as well regarding the institutional births. And also moving forward, regarding the full immunization of children between the age group of 12 to 23 months. The immunization to the child below the 5 years, specifically below 1 to 2 years, is very much important. Why? Because the child at that age will be very much vulnerable to so many number of diseases. So, hence immunization to the child at that age is very much important. And if we consider the full immunization of children, it is almost achieved for the more than 3/4 children of all over the India. So, it is also a good note to be noticed down. And also stunting was declined. What is the stunting here? It is nothing but the height for age. You have two dimensions like that. The wasting is nothing but the weight for height. Don't get confused here. Here, if a child is attaining certain age, like for say he is of 5 years, so his height is to be specifically attained. The predetermined height should be attained by that age. If that was not achieved, it can be said that that children was stunted. And also, if we can consider the meaning of the wasting, it is if a children is attaining certain height, that children should attain some specific predetermined weight for his height. So, these are two dimensions very much important. Why? Because these two dimensions show the perfect growth of the children depending on the height and their age. So, hence if we can see, these both were reduced and declined. The stunting was reduced from 38% to 36%, and also the wasting was reduced from 29% to the 19%. But it is higher in the rural areas. It is still higher. The stunting is still higher in the rural areas. So, the initiatives or incentives given under the government should be more focused on the rural areas. And also, if we can see the overall improvement regarding the SDGs, it was noticed that there was noticed some overall improvement under the sustainable development goals. And also, the prevalence of women having a bank or savings account has increased. Okay, it is also interesting point to be noticed. And also, the capacity of the women to have some household decisions. The report itself focuses more on the children and women. So, here we can focus on the women decisions, the decisions of women regarding the household sector. It has increased, like taking a major decisions of the house, and also taking her own decisions to go anywhere or to her families or friends' houses and all. The power of the women decision was increased a lot. So, in that scenario, we can notice there was some equality is growing day by day. So, considering the reports like this, the woman is attaining some individuality of her own self. And also, the prevalence of the overweight or obesity has increased in most states and UTs. It is also very interesting point to be noticed. The obesity is increasing day by day a lot. So, we have to focus on that as well. So, these are all interesting inputs given by that report of this year. So, after learning all this, we can frame a good way forward depending on this report, that our intensives or incentives are to be focused more on the rural and also more on the children growth and development. Okay, after learning all these things, let us move on to the next topic, that is nothing but regarding the coastal zone management. There was a plan released recently, and also recently the NCERT, National Green Tribunal, has scrapped environmental clearances for some entities. Those are nothing but the polymer industrial park that was established in the place Ennore. That is the rules, that is the recent news coming in the newspapers. So, in that backdrop, if we can see any programs regarding the coastal management, we have National Coastal Zone Management Program. So, under this, it will focus on the mapping, delineation and also the demarcation of the coastal areas which are having some hazardous lines. And also, the delineation of coastal sediment cells will also be focused under this program. The overall objective of this program is nothing but to develop it on a whole, the coastal development management zones. Okay, and also it is the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change had launched an integrated coastal zone management. That is nothing but it is the coastal zone management, right? After that, to achieve further and the expanded objectives, it was developed as integrated coastal zone management program. and also it has established some scheme called as Society of Integrated Coastal Management. Okay. These are all the initiatives and bodies that were established under the ministry of our union government, so that to achieve some development of the coastal zones. Okay. In that after learning all these things, let us move on to the next topic, that is nothing but regarding the Purchasing Managers Index. What is this index? This is nothing but a report that studies the economic scenarios, and also it will study some purchasing powers of some investors and the consumers of the economy on a whole. So, in that scenario, if we can study the main purpose of this report, according to this report, India's manufacturing sector recorded a slight acceleration in March 2022. That is an interesting thing to be noticed, right? The manufacturing sector, even though we are having some economic slowdown and contraction, our manufacturing sector of India is showing some slight accelerations. With this, we can notice that our Indian economy is growing slower and slower, and also it is sustaining some backdrops that were occurred because of the economic contraction. India's economy is showing some stability in its progress. And also the purpose, if we can, on this backdrop, if we can see the purpose of the Purchasing Managers Index, it will focus to provide information about current and future business conditions to the decision makers and analysts, and very much focusedly it will give those inputs, it will helpful to give inputs to the investors. Information like this is very much important for the investors. Why? Because the investment patterns are being dependent because of these reports and results. Now, if any investor has seen this news that manufacturing sector is going into accelerated, so hence we can attract some new investments, right? So, who will do all that work? That was done nothing but by some reports like this. Okay, that is the main and sole purpose of this index. And also in that backdrop, it has told that economy is in contraction. Specifically, economy all over the world, economy is in contraction. Actually, contraction will occur after some business peak. We know the business cycle, right? If we have attained some peak in the business, afterward in the next step the economy will get contracted. That is a natural phenomena. So, after achieving such a peak in business, the economy presently is in contraction, and because of inflationary pressures, energy price volatility, and also shortage, and also because of the shortcomings coming out of the Ukraine war and all. We know all those shortcomings presently running down in our economy presently. So, that is the main results given under the Purchasing Managers Index. So, these are all the news articles to be discussed for today. With this, I will end the session here. Let us meet in the another interesting session in tomorrow. Thank you.